New York Stock Exchange. Joining us from One Market today in San Francisco, angel investor and Inside.com CEO Jason Calacanis. A lot to get to with Jason today. First up, the president tweeting this morning about Jeff Bezos, saying, quote, the Amazon Washington Post, sometimes referred to as the guardian of Amazon, not paying internet taxes, which they should, is fake news. Not the first time the president has attacked the Amazon CEO. While on the campaign trail, he criticized Bezos for his purchase of the Post during a speech in Texas.
I have respect for Jeff Bezos, but he bought the Washington Post to have political influence. And I got to tell you, we have a different country than we used to have. We have a different, he owns Amazon. He wants political influence so that Amazon will benefit from it. That's not right. And believe me, if I become president, oh, do they have problems. They're going to have such problems.
So, Jason, we have the President of the United States targeting one of the soon-to-be maybe the richest man in the country and one of the richest men in the world. How important is this to Bezos, to the Post, and to Amazon?
Listen, Donald Trump makes an extremely valid point. If it was 2008, Amazon has been paying local state taxes in all but 4 states, New Hampshire and Montana, and the 4 states in our union that don't charge state sales tax. Amazon pays their taxes. So this is a completely fake tweet. It's fake news, and I think Donald Trump there's a little bit of projection going on here. Obviously, Donald Trump didn't want to release his taxes, and he said on his campaign trail very clearly, any smart businessman is going to pay the minimum amount of tax. That's what I did. I'm going to Washington to correct taxes. So, you know, to attack Jeff Bezos over an issue that is like a couple of years old right now is solvable by doing a Google search. So the president is a complete moron. He doesn't have his facts straight. And this is just a complete and utter embarrassment for him to attack Amazon on an issue that's already resolved. And if he's attacking him based on the Washington Post, then maybe that would lead people to believe that maybe the Washington Post is doing an excellent job. This
Jason,
is complete and utter
chaos. I think it takes something more than a complete moron to get elected president of the United States, as much as you might disagree with his politics and methods. But I guess I wonder, do these tweet attacks really matter anymore? I remember when stock prices moved on them, you know, Lockheed, there were all these worries about, oh no, you know, if you get targeted by Trump, that could be a real problem. I don't sense as much of that kind of concern anymore.
Amazon's up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously nobody believes what Trump is saying anymore. He tweets at 5 a.m. Nobody vets the tweets. It's a complete embarrassment for our country that the president is tweeting factually incorrect stuff. This is an embarrassment. You may want to sit there and be politically correct, John, and say this isn't a complete embarrassment and he's not a complete idiot. But I think the entire country is starting to realize that we elected a moron who doesn't even do a simple Google search before tweeting something that's factually incorrect. Why are we all sitting here pretending this is normal? It's not normal to tweet something that's factually incorrect.
Maybe,
if you're
Jason,
the president.
But Amazon has a lot at stake. And I mean, Jeff Bezos was at the White House last week. He is trying to get a $14 billion deal to swallow Whole Foods done. He's trying to expand his empire in so many different ways that it's hard to keep up. They could face regulatory headaches, and don't they have to play nice with the White House and with this administration?
I don't think they need to play nice with somebody like Donald Trump. He has not played nice with anybody else, and I don't think that, you know, anything Amazon is doing is out of the ordinary. If you look at the total amount of commerce that's online right now, the majority of it will be offline, and even if Trump somehow miraculously gets elected a second time, even when his 8 years are up, it will still be the majority of commerce will be offline. So to really look at, you know, Amazon and say it's some monopolistic power is just not accurate. They're nowhere near being monopolistic, and they will not be monopolistic in Trump's presidency, even if it lasts 2 terms. And we're sitting here with the president attacking somebody, and he's factually incorrect. Why would the president not have his tweets vetted? These are official communications from what's supposed to be the most powerful person on the planet. And nobody's vetting his tweets or fact-checking. All of us are subject to fact-checking here on the network.
That's his appeal. His appeal is that it is spontaneous, that it is real, that it's first person in an era in which people believe the government is too vetted, right? Where you don't actually ever hear what's coming from straight from someone's mind.
Yeah, except it's inaccurate. And that's what we have to focus on as members of the media and people who are commenting on this. We have to draw a hard line when the president is factually incorrect. And I think that's where our discussion sometimes, we give him a little bit too much leeway. If he's wrong, we have to double down on saying factually incorrect statement. If he's going to call us the fake news, we need to fact check him. Today's tweet is absurd. It's factually incorrect. We're sitting here discussing it. And then we're sitting here discussing him bullying Jeff Bezos, one of the great entrepreneurs of our time. Give me a break. Donald Trump can't hold a candle to what Jeff Bezos has added to society. This person has created tons of jobs, massive, advantage for our country, and is a tremendous innovator. And he's going to give all his money away. I mean, Bezos is going to give all his money away. He's done an amazing thing for America. Trump is destroying our country with factual inaccuracies and undecipherable policies.
We knew at the time of the election that part of the dynamic of this term would be how to digest his tweets, how they would play out in the market, how they would play out with companies, and that's where we are today. I don't think it's much of a surprise, but your point of view is taken. Let's move on to cyber attacks this morning, spreading across Europe and the U.S. on Tuesday. Merck, WPP, Rosneft, Mondelez, all among the major companies that were hit. The attack referred to as Petya is the second global cyber strike in as many months, Jason. And once again, we're left asking, are companies doing enough? If they're not, what do they do now? Whether this represents an elevated strike from the WannaCry just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, this is serious business. For people who don't know exactly how these attacks works, they typically work through attachments and phishing, which means you think you're getting an attachment from a friend. It tells you to log in. Oh, my God, I'm sharing photos with you. Oh, my God, I've got an important business proposal. You log into a website that's not Microsoft or Google's. You give your credentials. Your machine gets infected. They encrypt and lock up all your data or delete it, then demand some Bitcoin or payment anonymously in order to release it. And all of this could be avoided with two-factor authentication, people not opening attachments, and people updating their software. And so what has to happen is corporate America has to not allow people to use outdated software. This was a patch that was done a month ago by Microsoft.
It strikes me we're looking at the 10-year anniversary of the iPhone, and this is something that's hitting PCs. I mean, use of the cloud and use of mobile devices kind of gives you another line of productivity away from this sort of attack, does it not?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point. Why is this happening? It's because people are using old desktop software, and they're not following very basic best practices. And I was talking to, we have a newsletter, Inside Security, and I was talking to David Strom, who writes it, and they think that this ransomware attack looks suspiciously incompetent in that it's one Bitcoin address and one email address, which since has been shut down for you to submit payment to. Why would somebody create something that infects so many computers, but then is incompetent at collecting the ransom? They think that there might be some second wave of attack that could happen here. So I think if you're a consumer, what you need to know is you have to have the latest updates turned on. If you're a business, you have to take cybersecurity very seriously in terms of updates. And as a consumer, you want to have your data backed up in 2 or 3 locations: iCloud, Dropbox, Google Drive, Microsoft Backup. Pick 2 of them and back everything up to 2 locations. This way, when your hard drive or your computer does get compromised, you can pull down one of those 2 backups.
Yeah, that's one reason some of our guests yesterday suggested they called it cyber vandalism. They don't want the ransom necessarily, they just want to see something burn. And time will tell whether that's actually the case.
It's a bit of chaos. Yeah, a bit of chaos, yeah.
Finally, Jason, stay with us here. Meal kit delivery service Blue Apron set to price tonight on its IPO, but slashing the range by almost a third. Our Aditi Roy has been following the major players in that industry and joins us this morning from San Francisco as well. Hi, Aditi.
Hi there, Carl. That's right. Blue Apron is tapping into a very crowded food e-commerce market that could reach $66 billion by 2021. Just check out the competition. There is Plated, which has raised $35 million. HelloFresh is valued at 2 billion euros, but had a down round and called off its IPO. Then there's Nestle-backed Freshly, Campbell's Soup-backed Chef, and Unilever-backed Sunbasket. But there are also some notable companies that have gone belly up. Sprig, once valued at $110 million, shuttered its operations this spring. So did Maple. It was backed by celebrity chef David Chang and launched to much fanfare. But ultimately, it burned through cash quickly and fell prey to high operating costs and razor-thin margins, and was eventually acquired by the UK's Deliveroo and, of course, Munchery. Once valued at $250 to $275 million, it's gone through layoffs and recently raised money at a down round. So what are the ingredients for success? Industry watchers tell me the common thread among the successful companies is that they use conventional mail rather than couriers for delivery, driving down their operating costs. But some experts say that Blue Apron's biggest threat might be the combination of Whole Foods and Amazon. Setting up for a food fight there. Back to you guys.
We'll see what happens tonight. Aditi, thank you very much. Jason, really quick, when Whole Foods Amazon hit, people wondered whether this deal would survive at all. Will it?
Yeah, I think Blue Apron has figured something out that consumers love. I don't think Whole Foods is going to get into this space for a little while, so they have a decent head start. And they figured out something special, which is if they own the beef producer, if they own the farms, and they go from the source to the table, and they deliver, let's say, 6 meals or 9 meals, they can take that $20 delivery cost and amortize it across multiple meals. The reason the Sprigs and the Spoon Rockets and other services died very quickly was they had an average of 1.5 meals per order, and they still had this $10 or $20 delivery cost. Blue Apron is doing much better in that regard, but it's still a very challenging business.
Jason, do customers writ large really love it? I mean, the problem for me with these services, I hear Blue Apron, you know, people do it, and it's not enough food. You're paying a premium on the one hand for being lazy, not going out and doing your own grocery shopping, maybe at Whole Foods, but on the other hand, it's still a lot of work when you get it home and there are no leftovers. I'm not sure I want this.
Yeah, so these are all fair points. It's about $10 a meal. You get all the portions are set up for you, so it is pretty simple. We're about halfway to what this product will eventually look like. I just looked at another startup called Tovala yesterday, and they make an oven, which is steam, convection, and toaster. And you scan a barcode, you put a box in, and it steams it, then bakes it, then broils it. And it was absolutely delicious food. And what was interesting, and I'm not an investor in it yet, but what's interesting about it is you just scan a barcode and it does the recipe for you. And that takes out 2 or 3 steps that Blue Apron has. So people want a service like this. I think it appeals to a slightly younger demographic, let's say 25 to 35, 2-income home. You have to have at least 2 people in the home. And then when they get kids, then I think they double down on it. So it's a big time saver. There's a group of consumers who order it 2 or 3 times a month. And I think it's great that this is a lower price target and a lower share price, because this is a direct reaction to the overpricing of Snap, I believe. A lot of people who bought Snap feel a little burned. It was very expensive. It went out the top of the range and the top of the top of the range. And now we, I think, are seeing something healthy. A smaller company raising smaller amounts of money at a lower stock price. Maybe that gives people who are buying the stock a chance to actually make some money, instead of, like with Twitter and Snapchat, losing money, right? And this is maybe a healthy thing that the markets are skeptical.
Very
I like
quickly,
a skeptical
Jason,
market.
I just want to ask you about the competitive landscape. Aditi showed that there are a number of players here. Blue Apron may be first and biggest, but it's pretty low barrier to entry. Is there any sense that there's consumer loyalty to one specific brand over another?
Yeah, in any business, if you delight the customer and they start having repeatability, you're going to have you know, some loyalty there. But you're right that it's easier to get into. The defense will come from your brand and from your supply chain and your scale. So you may have seen that Blue Apron bought Neiman or Nyman, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, Ranch, or one of their subsidiaries. And so they literally are producing the beef. So in the same way that Bonobos or, you know, Warby Parker is direct to consumer, we're going to see farms going direct to recipes on people's tables, and that allows you to do the delivery cost because you're taking out a couple of middlemen there, right? You don't have a distributor and you don't have a retailer. You can sort of have a little bit more margin. Very challenging business, but the performance is pretty exciting, and I think that's why they were able to IPO the company. And I like these young companies with under $1 billion going public and giving, you know, investors a chance to maybe participate again in a company that's not at $10 billion in revenue or $5 billion in revenue. That's a healthy thing for us, and it's a healthy price. So these are good signs that there is an opportunity here.
Glass half full. We'll see what the pricing looks like tonight and the action tomorrow. Jason lighting up the phone lines again. We'll see you next time. Jason Calacanis joining us at